Hey guys, yes, we are doing more tie-dye today. I can't be stopped. I'm having too much fun. But today, the special project that I was talking about is that I'm going to be dyeing yarn. So this is the Lions brand 24/7 cotton yarn. It came in a skein. No, it came in a hank. It's part of the Rit Dye Lion brand collab. They have kits where you can buy dye and yarn. It comes both wool and cotton. I went with the cotton, and I have a collection of colors here. So I have lime green, sage green, olive green, brown, and then I'm mixing robin egg blue and lemonade to give me another shade of green. And I'm just gonna mix these up real quick, and then we're gonna get to dyeing. I'm really excited about this. I learned about the Rit Dye Lion brand kits from another YouTuber. I was like, ooh, that's so cool, I really wanna do that. I didn't wanna do the actual Rit Dye kits because the colors they had were either blue, yellow, and orange, or pink, purple, and green. And while they would probably look really cool, you know, my favorite color is green, second favorite is brown. I really wanted a variegated yarn that was just like green, different shades of green, and maybe like a shade of brown. I wasn't sure at first if I was gonna do brown, but then I decided, yes, I do wanna do brown. I didn't put all of the colors into the bottles because some of them were really full, and I felt like that was way too much dye, especially when I'm doing several colors. I just kind of guessed with how much dye I should put in for each one, and I'm filling them all up pretty full because I have 8 hanks here, and they're each 3.4 ounces, and they're a 4-weight yarn. I also want to apologize for the lack of microphone. The way my camera is set up, I wasn't able to plug in the little like thing. There's like a little thing I plug into my phone that connects to my lav mic. And the way my phone is set up, I couldn't do it. All right, I'm gonna get all the caps off of these, and then I'm gonna start dyeing. I'm gonna try and kind of like, I don't wanna be like all over the place. I have these laid in and folded over slightly. According to the instructions, there's a video on the Lion brand website. It says to pre-soak these with salt because the cotton, I tried. I mean, they are wet. They're cold now because they've been sitting for a while as I prepped. But they just did not want to like actually sit in the water. But anyway, we're gonna get started. I'm not gonna talk much while I do this. feeling that I was gonna need 8 bottles of dye for 8 skeins, but then I thought, no, that seems like too much. So I'm gonna add 2 more bottles of dye. I'm gonna do the colors. Let's do more brown and do olive green. Okay, so I'm going to let these sit overnight and then I'm going to rinse them in cold water and show you what they look like tomorrow. Hopefully they turn out good. I didn't expect there to be dry spots after I literally had it sitting in a sink full of water for probably about 10 minutes and it completely was floating. 8 skeins of yarn floating on the water, and I would just continuously push it down, hoping it was getting saturated. Apparently, not all of it got saturated. That actually really pisses me off because it's like I spent so much money on this yarn that is supposed to be the yarn you buy for the kits, and it wouldn't even get wet. But it's what's done is done. This is going to sit overnight. Hopefully all that excess dye in the bottom will be soaked up into some of it. I can't flip them like I usually do with the t-shirts because I in the interim before I rinse them, I flip them over a couple of times just to help the dye kind of travel through anywhere that might not have dye on it. I can't really do that here unless I want to unwrap and flip, and there's so much liquid in these pans that I worry that it won't, that it'll get everywhere. I mean, you can already see how stained my hands are from handling them so much. But yeah, that's it until tomorrow. All right, so it's the next day. I ended up rinsing these last night. They sat for about 6.5 hours, 7 hours. The instructions for the Tulip brand dye say 6 to 8 or longer, at least 6. I did them last night because I just kind of wanted to get them over with. And I knew that since they're not going in the dryer, they would need time to dry. I actually hung them from the top-down camera mount that you're currently looking at from, whatever. I've had time to kind of think about it and kind of mull things over and calm down. I definitely was very frustrated with the yarn yesterday. The hanks, as you saw, only came with a simple tag. There were no instructions at all on what I'm supposed to do with them. Like I said, there was a 2.5-minute video on the Lion brand website that very briefly mentioned to soak it in water with salt for the cotton. So that was basically all I had to go off of. They never said how long. And they did say how much salt. I probably could have done more, but since there's 8 of them, they said 3 tablespoons of salt for 1 in the video. So I'm like, I'm not doing however many that is. So I did about 10 tablespoons. That's a lot of salt. probably did a little bit more, like 11 or 12. Yesterday was kind of stressful because I didn't mix up as much dye as I initially thought I needed, so then I needed to mix up more. I probably shouldn't have done brown a second time because it really muddied the colors, I think. And I probably shouldn't have done, I think I said I did olive green. I probably should have done the regular green because I definitely lost a lot of that bright saturated green. I know I have it in some places like here, but that looks like it also might have been the lime green. Like it's still in some of them, but I definitely lost it. Like you can see here as well, but it definitely got swallowed up by darker colors. The sage, which I used up all of in one bottle because it was very little. I don't know where that went. The lime green was the lightest color, and I definitely see some hints of it, but it's kind of gone. And the yellow and blue that I mixed together also had a similar shade of green to the like regular green, and that's also gone, which is crazy when you think about that's 2 bottles basically of the same color and it's almost entirely gone. But again, I think it is because I did 2 bottles of brown. There are a lot of bald spots. That's a lot. I later, maybe like an hour or 2 after I had finished, I went back in there. I took the plastic wrap off the containers and I kind of started lifting and turning them and trying to get any spots that had no dye to touch the pool of dye at the bottom. Even though at that point it was mostly this kind of muddy green color, at least it was something. And I don't know if you noticed, but I was trying to do the same on all 8 of them the way that I was dyeing so that there would be some kind of uniformity between all 8 skeins. But once I started running out of dye and getting more dye, and then also noticing that there were certain areas that just was not wet at all, despite the fact that I had it sitting in a sink full of water for about 10 minutes. There's a crafting server that I'm a part of. Like basically everybody on that server does fiber arts of some kind, knitting, crochet, sewing, weaving, like all different kinds of stuff. And somebody said that because even though the cotton yarn isn't as fuzzy as like an acrylic yarn can be, they said that it probably should have sat in the water for 30 minutes with a weight on top to force it under the water. At that point, obviously, it was too late. It is what it is. You know, there's only so much you can do with no instructions. Because again, there were no instructions that came with these. I had watched a couple of videos, both where they dyed cotton yarn with tulip and did the full Rit Dye Lion brand kit where it came with the Rit Dye. They very rarely talked about what the pre-soak was like. I had watched one not that long ago that they had used the kit, and I don't remember her mentioning pre-soak at all. They were wet though, I could tell, and there was a little bit of liquid in the pan. But anyway, I am going to cut off the tie. So this is an acrylic that I put on, and then these are the ones that were already on there. I'm going to cut all of that off, and we're going to start winding them up. so it's been a couple of days. I managed to get 2 skeins caked up. The first one completely tangled up on me, and it took me like half an hour to get it untangled. And then the second one, I was like even more careful about trying to get it untangled, or not untangled, to have it so it wouldn't get tangled. And that also took me half an hour. And like the actual winding takes like 3 minutes. So I'm like, I'm not doing that for 6 more of these. So I bought a Swift. It arrived today, just now. Got it set up. And so I'm going to wind up some more yarn with this now part of my arsenal. I really didn't want to buy it because it's, another expense that I don't really need, but yeah.
And I can afford to buy the solar panels.
Jesus Christ. Oh my god. This cake is so much tighter than my other ones. Look at the size difference. Because the Swift pulls so much on it. And only towards the end there did I actually get like a good rhythm going where I could have it just pulling from the Swift. Because I don't know what it is about these skeins or the hanks. It's that the yarn isn't laying on top of itself wrapped around over and over again. It's like weirdly twisted. So sometimes it's coming from on top, but sometimes it's coming from underneath. It's really annoying.
2 customers in there. I think I'm gonna hit the coffee once I inspire someone.
Alright, I have all of the yarn caked up. The Swift at first was not working great. It was pulling the yarn really taut, and it actually caused the 6 skeins that I just did to be like tighter and smaller than the two that I did the other day by hand, which is fine. I don't mind that. I am pretty happy with the color. Some of them, as you can see, are much more saturated than others. And I don't know if it's just the way the yarn was wound, but sometimes they look like they're more green or more brown. I also realized it was a user error. The yarn was wrapped on top of each other like this. It was just in the handling of it, it got all twisted up, especially being put on the Swift. And I realized after like the third one that I did that, oh, I can like kind of correct that twisting and it will lay nice, and then I can just have it come off the Swift right from the top and around. I feel like the name of this colorway would be like Bog Witch or something. Like it screams Bog Witch to me. Let me put my little lamp on, get some light on here. See if that helps. But yeah, it's, you know, those brown, the muted greens, some bright greens. There's some bright greens in there. And the natural off-white color of the yarn. I don't hate that. Yeah, I think it would be called Bog Witch. I don't know what I'm going to crochet with it. So they're each 3.4 ounces, and there's 8 of them. I honestly don't know how much of a project I would get out of it. I might try a sweater, maybe. I don't know. So that's it for my yarn dyeing experience. Overall, I can already think of ways where I can improve if I choose to do this again. It really depends on if I like crocheting with cotton yarn. I know a lot of people stand by cotton yarn, but I didn't really know it was a thing until recently. Thank you so much for watching. If you like crochet, sewing, or any other kinds of crafts, please consider a follow. I upload every Sunday, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!